Hello, and welcome to the Kosh, the People's Podcast. I'm your host, Timber Smith, and the Kosh is a podcast that spotlights the people who've had an association with Kosh and the surrounding Fox Cities region. Kosh listeners, how are we doing today? You know I'm geeked. Why? Because it's podcast day, and I always get geeked for podcast day, and partially because of a lot of reasons. Number one reason is because I always have a fire-ass guest, and that makes me happy. And the other reasons is I'm about to learn some things. Doing these conversations with the people that live in our community, the people making a difference in our community. I don't know. It brings energy. It feels good. All right, so let me give you the time frame because, you know, when I record these and when I release these, there's totally, it takes a while. You know, I'm a little behind in some of the episodes, so time frame is this. Look, I think we've just gone through a series of 7 days of summer in the fall. We probably have one or two left that might turn out to be some warm ones, but we're starting to sink into fall. And how do I know we're starting to sink into fall? I'm starting to watch people truly pull out their flannel game. Flannel game is how I can tell when the flannel game starts becoming full in effect. We are truly in fall game, as far as I'm concerned, including myself. I've definitely gone out there, got myself some new flannels and some new Timberland boots. And if you don't know, I am absolutely obsessed with Timberland boots a little bit. And so I'm ready for this fall, which fall is my favorite season.
Amen to that.
Yeah, because, you know, it's all about the layers and the fashion of fall. Fall is a fall fashion.
Well, there's a fashion, there are food, there are smells, there are activities. Fall's awesome.
Oh, facts. All right. And now, you know, we got a guest, y'all. And so let me just go on and get ready. But before we get ready to jump all the way in, can I just say, well, Kosh listeners, you know what's about to happen. You know what's about to happen. But can I just say, I don't know how we continue to have these amazing, amazing guests. And guess what? This week is no different. So, without any further ado, this week's guest is Michael Patton. Hey, Michael, what's going on?
Not much. So happy to be here. You know, it's once you, as you said, I don't know when this is going to air, but as we speak, it is National Cybersecurity Month. Oh. And I'm here to represent the UW Oshkosh Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. So happy to be here during Cybersecurity Month and happy to talk about cybersecurity and hopefully educate everyone just a little bit.
I didn't know cybersecurity had a month.
Everything has a month.
Oh, you ain't lying. Now, especially if cybersecurity has a month. Well, here's what I'm going to say. Cybersecurity deserves a month.
We need it. I don't know if it deserves it, but we need it. There's no doubt about that.
All right. Well, before we jump into that, you know, we got some other things we got to handle first, Mike. And one of the things is this. Can you please share with the Kosh listeners what's your connection to the Kosh and the surrounding Fox Cities region?
Well, I have lived here since 1990, and so we've been here a long time. And we moved up here because my wife got a job at UW Oshkosh. We both finished my wife had finished her master's. I'd finished my undergraduate degree at University of Iowa. Go Hawks! By the way, this is the day after that blowout. So just pointing it out there for all you Badger fans who like to give me crap about being a Hawkeye.
Ooh.
So anyway, we moved up here in the mid to late 90s and have been here ever since. My wife has worked at UW Oshkosh off and on basically the whole time. There was a 2-year stint that she worked at Moraine Park, but basically has been at UW Oshkosh the whole time. I was in private industry, started out doing IT training, and eventually became, worked my way up to IT director and leadership positions. And for the past probably close to a decade, I've been at UW Oshkosh teaching in information systems. And we founded the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence probably 4 or 5 years ago now. It was right around COVID time. But it's been great. Raised 2 kids here who are now adults and left the nest and living other places. But I don't see us leaving Oshkosh anytime soon, and love being associated with the university. And That's my Oshkosh story.
All right. You know what? I'm going to call out something here. Just in case others feel that this voice is familiar, just so you know, this is the voice of the Titans.
Yeah. If you go to one of the games, the chances are that the voice you hear out of the sky is me is very high. I'm the main public address announcer for football, soccer, volleyball, men's basketball, wrestling, men's wrestling, women's wrestling, gymnastics, softball, soon to be flag football, potentially men's soccer if it comes back. That's a discussion that's being had right now. It's probably easier to say the ones I don't do. I'm the backup for women's basketball. And baseball, because it happens so often simultaneously with softball, that's a mixed bag, but I do those as well. But yeah, I really enjoy working with the student athletes, getting to know them. And that's how I got to know your daughter better than just, our relationship.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's one of the best things about what I get to do at the university is the interaction with the student athletes.
Yeah. How did you get into that? Because, I mean, seriously, first of all, it seems super cool to me.
Well,
but how do you find your way to it?
You answer an email. Ken and Tim had emailed campus when I was just starting as an adjunct. I wasn't even full-time yet. And there was an email that went out to the entire university community that said, we're looking for a new announcer. I don't even think specified the sport. It said, we're looking for new public address announcers. Come audition. So I don't even remember if I sent a resume or just said I'd like to try out. Went into a room in Colf and sat around a table with Kenan and the assistant sports information director. And I think there was one other person there. And they gave me a little script, say, okay, read this like you were at an event. Must not have been too horrible because I got an email. I was like, okay. And when they told me that I got the job, I thought I was the women's basketball announcer. So I was actually at the men's basketball steak fry, and I'm sitting at the table with the women's basketball coach, Fish. I said, I'm going to be your announcer this year. And he's like, I don't think so. We got a guy. So I ended up being the men's basketball announcer. That was the only sport I did. The person who'd been the football announcer got shingles. So I subbed for her a couple times. Red was great, did a great job, but lived out of town. And so I think how I moved into football was the convenience of it. And then they're like, oh, there's someone who will actually show up and we don't have to worry about whether or not they'll be there. So, one more sport, and one more sport, and one more sport. And eventually it's almost all of them. So yeah, you answer an email. That's the short answer.
Were you an athlete yourself?
I was a decent high school athlete. Had conversations with some D3 schools, but very, very light. I was, the second team all conference basketball, honorable mention all conference baseball. I was okay. I wasn't any great. Everyone who's here would kick my butt in whatever sport. Doesn't matter.
All right, but you did play.
I did play. I played organized. I did all right.
Okay. No, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I've got legit questions about cybersecurity.
Sure.
And maybe the direction of tech as a whole.
Yeah.
But since I believe that's probably your topic of the week,
yeah,
I think I'm going to pivot a little bit. Well, I'm going to ask the question I always love to ask because I love where this goes. If you weren't doing what you're doing right now, what would you like to be doing?
That's a hard question. Because I like to be reality based. And some of the things that I would love to do are the same things everyone would love to do. Like, would I love to be a musician such that I could go out and, be in a band and be a rock star? Of course.
Facts.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I noodle with guitar, but it was funny. It was funny. There was one place I was working in private industry a few years back, and there was a guy I was working with who was in a band. So he had a guitar in his office, and I picked it up and was messing around with it. He's like, "Oh, you play?" It's like, "Well, technically, yes, I play, but I don't play." I said, I kind of suck. And he said, "Well," I said, "I'm not good enough to be in a band." He's like, "Well, yeah, you are. You could play in a band with those skills. I'm like, yeah, but I want to be in a good band, right? I don't want to be in a band that would have me. I know I'm not that good. I want to be in a good band. So So from a fantasy standpoint, I would love to do that, right? I'd love to be the public address announcer for the Iowa Hawkeyes. That not only would make me happy, that would make my mother-in-law very happy. She keeps asking when I'm going to come do this for the Hawkeyes. I'm like, I don't think you understand the different levels of how this works. It's like I have maxed out and am lucky enough to do what I do for the Titans. They could do way better than me, but I'm definitely not Hawkeyes or White Sox or some of the teams that I follow. But from a realistic standpoint, I kind of like doing what I'm doing. I like teaching. I like working with students. I have lots of colleagues who have PhDs and terminal degrees and are on the tenure track. And what I like the security of a tenure track position, absolutely. But then you got to get a PhD, right? That's a whole lot more school and studying and writing, and then you got to publish every year. And that's not my thing. I like teaching. My parents were high school teachers when I was a very little kid. When I went to college, I studied to be essentially a high school social studies teacher. So I like teaching, and a lot of what I do is teaching. And then my daughter, she works in art education at a museum, so she's teaching. You look at those professions, and doctors beget doctors beget doctors, and lawyers beget lawyers beget lawyers, and teachers beget teachers. And so, I really love teaching. That's what I love doing. And so, while yes, there are always those fantasy jobs, I like teaching. Now, in my background, I also really like psychology and behavioral psychology. And so might I have changed my area of specialty slightly? Yeah, because in what we're going to talk about with cybersecurity, a lot of it is psychology based. It's like, why do people do what they do? Why do people click on the link that they click on? Or why do people answer that email in such a way? Or what motivates people to send you the bad link to click on? So I get to do some of that anyway. But why I really like people and watching what they do and why they do it. That was a really long answer to a really simple question.
No, but look, we wouldn't have it any other way. So how many kids?
We have two. Our daughter Caitlin is, as I said, working in museum education at Iowa State University. She works for the museums there. They're actually very into art on that campus. They have 3 different public museums, all of them free to the public. And my daughter is in charge of education at the Christian Peterson Museum, and so gives tours and really one of the things she really likes is she ties the art that is art for art's sake back to various classes. So, for example, she was just telling us this past weekend how she's working with, I think it was an engineering group. Yeah, it was a materials engineering group. And so they were going to talk about art restoration from a materials engineering standpoint and what materials are durable and what fade. And so these engineering students who probably would not think of art being part of what they do, it could be very much part of what they do. And so that gets her excited, and as you can tell by extension, gets me excited. So she is 27 and living in Ames. And then our son, Tegan, is in the greater Phoenix area. He does digital marketing for Circle K, the gas station convenience store place. So the digital ads you see at the gas pumps, he has something to do with that. And just got a promotion where he works, and so he's doing well. And he turns, this makes me feel really old, Timber. He turns 25 this week. And so, that when the baby is 25, you're old. It's like, yeah, okay, no doubting that.
Oh no, it's definitely, it sends you into your feelings as they get older.
It does.
I'm prepping for when they hit that 3-0.
Yeah,
because then I feel like I might have my midlife crisis at that point.
Yeah. It's interesting, but that's all right? I mean, you want to as parents, you want to raise good people who become good adults and good citizens, and we have been blessed with two very good people who just happen to share our biological traits.
Love that. Facts. Big facts. Well, while you were saying all that, it made me think I would be remiss if I didn't send a shout out to Debbie Gray Patton.
That's right.
The legendary one.
The person you really should have on this podcast, probably.
Well, no. We have, well, if she would like to come sit in the chair, I have an episode for her.
I will bring it up for her.
Yeah, you can bring that up to her. You got to tell her there's space.
All right, we'll do.
Space. But, I just bring that up because I is someone who got to watch her work and refer students to her work and just watched how she connected with students and how she changed so many students' lives. I just got to give that shout out as a Titan.
Yes. Yes.
So.
Yeah, Deb is amazing. I am humbled and frankly confused as to why she's been married to me for as long as she has. But yeah, she does such good work with so many people and not just students, right? She's just an amazing person, way better person than I am, and probably the reason I have good people as children is because she's been around. So yes, shout out to my wife.
Love that. Okay, well, I think we're ready for. Oh, that's right. Kosh listeners, when you hear that sound, it means that it is time for the topic of the week. And the topic of the week is chosen by our guests 99.9% of the time. And guess what? This week's not going to be any different. So, Michael, what is our topic of the week?
So since it's National Cybersecurity Month, I really want to talk about cybersecurity. As the founder, co-founder, and director of our Cybersecurity Center of Excellence at UW Oshkosh, I'm really passionate about what we can do, not only to make our own lives safer, but the general community safer. I think one of the things that we often forget is whether it's in the digital world or in the physical world, our actions are not in a vacuum. Things that we do affect other people. And so, especially in the 21st century, where so much, not only of what we do, but of, frankly, who we are, is digitally connected, I think we have been lax and negligent in how we not only treat our cybersecurity, but talk about our cybersecurity.
Bruh. Facts.
If you think about all of the things that you do online, and I mean literally all the things, whether it's sending emails, instant messages, signing up for newsletters, reserving a car for a trip, banking, the myriad of things that we do online, if you really think about how you establish those accounts, how you interact with people or organizations, so few times were we authenticated or validated that we were who we said we were outside of the digital space. Yeah, you may go to your bank and you may set up a bank account, and you may have done that locally. And there's an element of you showed them an ID and you gave them money. But then you were given a digital account, a username and password where you can interact and make deposits and transfer money and pay your bills and do all that sort of stuff. And the only thing that connects that digital entity of you with your bank back to you is this idea that you have a username, probably your email address that everybody in the world knows, and a password that you came up with, which, let's be real, is probably the same password you use for everything in your life. Bad idea. And so if I know your username and I know your password, and now banks are getting a little more sophisticated and they're looking for that two-factor authentication. So that is better. But for the longest time, all you had was that username and password. If I know what that is, I am you. Not I'm pretending to be you. I am you. I am no less you in that digital space than you are. And so when you think about all of those things that we do, where all we have is a username and password, or if we're lucky enough, some form of two-factor authentication through your phone, through some other mechanism, I can if I am a bad actor, I can be you. And I think that really brings into question what is our humanity. It's very philosophical to me. It's not just physical protection, which is a very real thing, right? If you take a look at the stalking laws, they lag the current technology greatly. In most states, if you buy a thing, let's say a car, with another person, and it's jointly owned, and for whatever reason that relationship goes sour, that person legally can track the car that you have either been given or as a result of the relationship, because they're part owners, and thus they can track that property in the same way that you can track your property. And so if there's a stalking situation, right, there's nothing the courts can do to stop them from tracking your car and your movements because they own part of it. And most people aren't even aware of that.
I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah. And so these are the kinds of things that we love, the convenience of the digital world, as do I. I am not a Luddite. I have a smart thermostat and a smart garage door opener and all those other things. But I go into that with a level of knowledge of what I am giving up. There is a direct antithetical correlation between security and safety, security and convenience. For every degree of something being more convenient, you are by definition being less safe. But we make those trade-offs without recognizing that connection. And we pick up something, a smart thermostat, I can check and set the temperature in my house from wherever I am. That's awesome, right? We latch onto that convenience without recognizing that smart thermostat is attached to the internet and is a greatly simplified, but still is a computer. And so there are numerous stories of people having other parts of their personal security violated, or companies and organizations being hacked into through these theoretically benign devices that are supposed to do very limited things like smart thermostats, smart garage door openers, etc. And I share that with the organization, or with people and organizations, not to make them paranoid and afraid. Like I said, I have those items myself, but to help you make a truly informed decision about what you are doing. There are seatbelt laws, and you can choose to wear a seatbelt or you can choose to not. If you get into an accident, it's probably going to work out less well for you if you're not wearing your seatbelt. If you get pulled over by a police officer, it's probably going to work less well for you that you're not wearing your seatbelt. But you get to make those choices because you know what the consequences are, at least in some esoteric, theoretic space. In the cybersecurity world, most people don't make informed decisions. Our bodies normally tell us when things are stressful, whether it's stress at work, barking dog running at you, a person coming at you with some sort of a weapon. Your body gives you adrenaline that says you are in danger, take action. We don't get that same adrenaline when we get an email message with a bad link in it. We don't get that same adrenaline message when we get that IM message that seems a little odd, and who would be texting me that, and why would they be sending me that? So we have to overcome our complacency that these things aren't dangerous to us, to understand they could be dangerous and to what degree. And so that is the purpose of the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, is not just to provide a unique learning space for our students, but really to reach out into the community and to be the physical manifestation of the Wisconsin idea, which is that the UW schools, being this collection of expertise and knowledge and things that are to make, we do this to make the world better. Well, let's make it directly better, right? Let's not wait until, a patent gets picked up by a private organization that then turns it into an iPhone, right? Let's do it today. Let's talk to people now in their everyday lives. And I think cybersecurity, there's nothing more immediate and everyday in the 21st century than cybersecurity.
Oh, facts. I'm going to tell you what, Mike, as we've been talking, what you're making me think is I'm not going to let my mom listen to this episode, and I'll tell you why. Because you know them old schoolers are very much like, I'm not putting my information on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm not giving them that. And I'm always the one that's like, look, you got to go ahead and let's do this the smart way. Let's do this. It's going to work better for you. And it's like, nah. And she's going to listen to this and she's going to be like, I've told you so. You know what I'm talking about too.
I do. So Mrs. Smith, I just want to send a message straight to you. There are certain things that there is no other way to do it than to be on the internet, right? It's almost impossible to rent a car without a credit card, and your credit card information is part of your bank account information, and that's online. So there's no reason to just go cold turkey. But there are some simple things that you can do to make yourself safer. One of which, and the simplest one that we can all do today, is use a different password for literally everything you do online. Now, I know some of you are going to say, my goodness, I have so many passwords, there's no way that I can remember them. To which I will say, yes. And in fact, I want your passwords to be so complicated that even if you only had 5, you couldn't remember them all.
Right.
So what do I want you to do instead? I don't want you to write it down in an Excel spreadsheet in your computer. That can be hacked real easily. I don't want you to put it in a notebook. I want you to get a digital password vault. There are numerous of them online that are free that also are heavily encrypted. And because they're heavily encrypted, you can access them from any of your devices. You can access them from your laptop and from your tablet and your phone, and you can have all your passwords with you all the time. If you're looking for brand names, there are so many of them. Many of them are available from all the cybersecurity brands you're used to, right? Symantec and McAfee, they all have them. I tend to use brands called LastPass and 1Password and Proton. So I have 3 different ones, right? Keep things separate. And the advantage of all these things is they're online and they're encrypted. So you only have to remember the password that gets you into your password vault.
Right.
And then the password vault has all your other passwords. I don't even know most of my passwords, and I literally have hundreds of passwords.
Right. I think that's smart.
Well, it's a simple thing that you can do that is still convenient, right?
Right.
In fact, a lot of these tools have plugins into web browsers so that when you go to that website, it enters your username and password for you.
It's got you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I think it's so important. And this is one of my biggest worries. Because we have moved to so many things being digital, particularly like your bank accounts and let's say other things you do. You store a lot of data in your digital accounts, right? If you pass away and no one has these passwords nor knows these accounts exist,
Yep.
there are things that I think would be lost for almost ever or almost impossible for your family to find to trace back to you. And
Yes.
so I think having a centralized place where at least they know, oh, I didn't know he had an account like that, or he needed this, or that we need to go take care of that. Otherwise, things would just be lost in the digital wilderness.
Yep. And most of these tools come with something that is either a family plan or you can set up, a connection with another person that should you pass, they can then have access to all your stuff.
Yeah. See, I need that.
Yeah. So yes, all that stuff's built in. So Mrs. Smith, it's okay to be online. It's safe-ish. No more or less safe than driving in certain neighborhoods in certain cities. Definitely no less safe than something you probably do every day, which is when you go out to eat, you give your credit card to the waiter and they walk away with it. What are they doing it with you're gone? You don't know. So once again, don't be afraid, don't be paranoid, but be aware and do the simple things that you can do to make yourself safer. Most of these bad cyber actors, unless you're working for, Oshkosh Corporation, where you have nation states coming at you, right? That's not most of us. Most of us are getting attacked by the digital version of a mugger. A mugger walks down the street and they see all sorts of people, and they don't mug every single person they come across.
Right.
What do? They look for the easy target.
Right.
We just want you to not be the easy target.
Right.
Because then you put up enough of a barrier, they're going to go off and do something to someone else.
They're going to find something easier.
You're going to find something else that's easier, right? So that's one of our goals at the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, is to make you not the 8-year-old with $100 bills hanging out of your pockets.
So I want to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
Because I'm big on, we have terms that get thrown around all the time that I think people assume they know what it means.
Yeah.
But they don't know what it means.
Probably
or we
not.
don't, because we've never had an opportunity to talk to somebody who works in the field or is a professional. So I'm going to go to the basics of cybersecurity. What does that mean? Now, see, when I think of cybersecurity, my mind goes to, you remember that old school movie War Games?
Yeah.
That's where my mind goes. I'm like, oh, that was bad cybersecurity.
It was horrible.
So I mean, that's where my mind goes. But somehow, that was a long time. I think there was an 80s movie.
It was an 80s movie, Matthew Broderick,
Yep.
Great movie. And by the way, not as science fiction-y as we would like to think.
Oh, no, I don't think it was.
Definitely the cybersecurity aspects of it were not science fiction-y. Whether there was a supercomputer playing nuclear war games, right? That's maybe it was science fiction-y kind of at the time, but that kind of artificial intelligence is really what we're dealing with today. I mean,
Correct.
That War Games is almost a documentary, other than the fact you had to couple your phone to the modem. but as far as the technology behind it, that's actually yeah. So I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead. Cybersecurity.
Oh, no. That's it. I just, can we go back and talk about what is cybersecurity? Like for the everyman, for the basic person, because I mean, I feel like it's one of those umbrella terms that it just people throw it around a lot.
Yeah. And what I would like to challenge as far as people's perception of it is, when we think about cybersecurity, we think about just the digital aspect of it, right? Don't pick up a thumb drive that you don't know where it came from and plug it into your laptop to see if it's blank or if you can use it, right? That's very obviously cybersecurity, right? It's a computer. I get it. But I would argue that cybersecurity is anything that might deal with either the digital data that you're trying to protect as a person or an organization, like pictures and all those things that we normally think about that we would want to protect as assets that we would view other people seeing as having value or that have value to us, but also your digital identity. And so I would argue included in cybersecurity is shredding credit card receipts and perhaps even burning them, because there's possibly part of your credit card on that receipt. There's definitely what you bought, when you bought it, where you bought it, possibly some things about your name. If I get enough of them and stick them together, not only can I take a look at your purchasing patterns across organizations, but I can kind of cyber stalk you. Oh, you were there at 3:15 and then you were there at 3:25, and I can kind of see where your travel patterns are.
Bruh.
Yeah, and so as we think about cybersecurity, obviously there's the digital stuff. There's the direct computer related stuff, and we need to be conscious of what that means as to what we protect, how we protect it, to what degree do we protect it. But then there's also the things that deal with your identity and your physicalness that can be either gleaned digitally, or the reverse also true, things that I can find in the physical world, like credit card receipts, et cetera, that can give me clues as to how to interact with you in the digital world, and if I had bad intent, taking advantage of you.
That it gave me pause, especially when I would have never thought about like your credit card receipts and somebody tracking or caring about your purchase pattern and the time that you purchased things. But I mean, it's all information that makes you vulnerable.
Well, and here's another thing that I think is often misunderstood about cybersecurity. In fact, even in the industry, one phrase that you will hear in the industry is no trust cybersecurity, right? The idea that you need to validate everything every time. We're used to living in a world where we go into work, we log into our computer once at the beginning of the day to prove to our internal business network that we are who we say we are.
Right.
But then once we validated, we move around that network and that space a lot and quickly for convenience sake, right? We don't want to have to revalidate ourselves every time we're opening a file or every time we're sending an email, right? So, but there's a concept in the industry that perhaps not explicitly by prompting you to enter your username and password, that we check it every time. And I argue and have argued and will continue to argue, there is no such thing as zero trust. At some point, we trust somebody with something. Either we trust our business to keep some of our personal information so that they can validate who we are, who we say we are. We trust our banks to keep our balances correct and to deal with our money in the way that we've asked them to deal with our money. There is always trust somewhere, because we as humans are part of a larger society, and none of us can truly live on our own. We interact with people all the time. We have to trust others. So the question is, whom do you trust? Do you trust them with? And so as we're taking a look at all of these things that we're doing to protect ourselves, I trust that when I go to sleep every night, Deb's not going to kill me, right? I'm falling asleep. I'm literally putting my life in her hands. I'm literally putting my life in her hands. And we do that with our digital lives, right? We trust our banks with certain information. We trust our employers with certain information. We trust our friends with certain information. And that's good. I would argue that that is a good thing. But when I can track and find out information about you, we tend to trust people who know things about us. Right? If you go out to a bank, they'll have you answer those stupid questions of what was your dog when you were a kid, and where did you go to school? Right. The idea that you're going to share that information, that they can regurgitate that back to you, or that you can validate it. Well, we're trusting them with that information to begin with.
Right.
But then if you got a message from, let's say Caitlin emails me, I know her email address. Mm-hmm. I know how she talks and the kinds of things that she would ask me. If someone has followed our relationship enough that they can then mimic that,
mm-hmm. You're going to give us that information.
It is words on a screen, right?
Yep.
I don't know for a fact it came from her. I know how to fake an email address. And I am not the most technical of hackers. I am much more a social engineering hacker than I am a technical hacker. But even I can fake an email to make it look like it came from somebody else. Mm. So if I can then take that minimal technical skill, combine it with what I know about social engineering and human behavior, et cetera, and get you to believe that I am the person that I say that I am,
right?
I can get you to share all sorts of stuff with me. And that's where I think people are missing that link. It's not that I care about your Facebook pictures. What do those Facebook pictures tell about me if I needed to pretend to be you or be you to someone else and get them to share information with me, or if I wanted to pretend to be someone else to get you to share information with me?
Okay, so I'm going to ask both questions, and I'll re-ask it in case. But one is, so if I'm interested in this field, if I'm listening right now, I'm thinking, I'm about that life.
Yeah,
I'm that kind of computer geeky. Because I feel like you got to have a little bit of that in your life. You got to have a little bit of that, right? Little. And then what does that look like when I go down that path? Let's say I'm going for that major with you in your program.
Yep.
What do I expect? What does that feel like?
Sure. So we do have a cybersecurity certificate that goes with our information system major, but that certificate can actually be available to anybody at the university. You don't have to be an IS major. But let's say we're going to go with your scenario. You want to be the more technical, right? You want to be the IS major. If you are elementary, middle school, high school, because I'm sure the Kosh, that's the target audience, right? You got those middle schoolers in there. But let's or you have a middle schooler or a high schooler that seems to be that you love that seems to be showing these traits. You want them to get to think about how do things work, whether that is the computer itself, whether that is the networks and communications, because even all of these hyper technical things that happen, And as a shout out to my friends and colleagues who are in computer science and computer engineering, right? I don't do what they do. I don't deal with it at the technical level that they deal with it, even though I've been doing this in as my profession now for well over 30 years. But I know how IP addresses help route messages from one computer to another and how they get around, right? Maybe not at the engineering level of the electrical waves that go through the wires, maybe not at the code level that underlies all of the protocols, et cetera, that makes it work. But I know how it works. And knowing how it works, I think, is really important in, especially today, because we can Google things, we can use generative artificial intelligence to give us an answer that has a high likelihood of being accurate. And I know this is podcast, so you can't see me doing the air quotes, but accurate, because it's merely probabilistic. And if you don't actually understand how it works, you could make a mistake that leads to something not going well. So be curious, learn how things work. Second of all, learn how people work. One of the things that I think surprises my students, who, granted, we're in the College of Business, so we're more people focused than even comp sci at UW Oshkosh. But how much time we spend talking about motivations, how much time we spend talking about culture in an organization and why people make the choices that they do. Because fundamentally, there's a very small number of people who have the technical skills who can do hard hacking, but there's all sorts of people who understand people, and frankly, that is a lot easier to get. It is a whole lot easier for me as a bad actor to get you to give me something than it is for me to take it from you.
Exactly. That's where they have those phishing emails.
That's why phishing emails, right? So I would say, in as much as you want to study math and the technical side of it, and I encourage you to do that, right? My students, my networking class right now, they're going through IP addressing, and they look at me like, I know you're speaking English, but I have no idea what you're saying. Get the technical background, get that set of skills, but don't neglect the human side of it, because fundamentally that is where the rubber meets the road. That is where we find value, right? The whole concept of value is a human concept. Gold is a metal, and it has, electrical conductive properties. It has a certain, level of malleability, right? That's the physical thing about gold. But the fact that we find it valuable, it's because humans decided it was valuable. The dollar in and of itself is nothing more than a piece of paper. The fact that you can go and buy a chicken with it is a human construct.
Right.
Or how much chicken you can buy with it is a human construct. It's worth $3 because someone said they'll give it to you for $3 and you're willing to pay $3. That's what makes it $3. And so I can say anything is worth any amount of stuff, but unless you agree with me, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So all of these human constructs are the really important things to think about, because that's fundamentally what matters. Do I care if you know my full name, my real name, Michael Patton? Probably not. But that, combined with a bunch of other things, could make my life very difficult.
Facts.
So inherently, none of these things have value on their own, or sometimes even intrinsically. But it's that combination of things. So if you were wanting to study cybersecurity, get the technical background, and don't forget about the people. Study human behavior as well.
I'm going to ask two. What are some of the biggest mistakes people make with cybersecurity at this time? Because I do feel like it's ever changing.
It is.
Right? So I'm sure people aren't falling for the Nigerian prince as much anymore.
You would be surprised, but yes.
I just said not as many.
Yeah.
Because before.
Yeah.
Which, to me, that has a human aspect, which was greed.
By the way, do you know how long that scam has been around?
I think it's been around for 30 years.
The original Nigerian prince scam wasn't the Nigerian prince scam. It was the Spanish king scam. it actually has its origins back in the time of the Revolutionary War.
What?
And the French Revolution, where nobles in Europe would get these letters saying, I am another noble in Spain who's been, the mob came and got me, and I'm in the Spanish version of the Bastille, and send me money so I can bribe the guards so I can get out. And then once I get out and get to my money, I'll send you that money back. That is the origins of the Nigerian prince scam.
Oh my God.
It is literally older or as old as this country. And computers haven't been. That's the thing.
It predates computers.
It predates computers. Cybersecurity is nothing more than an analogy for things that have been happening in the real world forever. When we talk about authentication, right, that I'm going to validate that you are who you say you are. We've been doing that the same way for millennium. It's something that you are, right? I can look at you and go, that's Timber Smith. I know him. Well, we have biometrics that look at your thumbprint or look at your face. That's something you are, right? Something you know. Right? You knock on the door, you give them the password.
Right.
Well, that's what a password is, right? Something you know. Or something that you have, right? You back in the days of, when popes and kings and they'd send their emissaries out. How do I know this message actually came from the pope or actually came from the king? Well, it's got that little signet stamp on there, right? Only the pope or the king has that signet stamp,
right?
So it had to come from them, right? That's this, and that's two-factor authentication with your phone. It is literally the same stuff that we've been doing for centuries. We've just figured out how to do it on computers.
What are the biggest trends that are happening right now? And then we're going back to my original question, which was
the biggest mistakes.
Yeah, the biggest mistakes.
Okay. Biggest trends right now, obviously, if you're paying any attention to the world at all, has to do with generative AI. And I really make a point of using the phrase generative AI because artificial intelligence has been around much longer than it's been in the zeitgeist. When you played chess against a computer, there was an artificial intelligence behind it playing chess against you. Right. But now that we can get an artificial intelligence to have a conversation with me and generate text or use these large language models that they understand how humans communicate, that's relatively new. And because it is now starting to feel from our human interactions that all these sci-fi things that we saw in the past are coming to real life. Now it's in the zeitgeist, and oh my gosh, it can do all these wonderful things. So that is the current trend, but it's also the trend in cybersecurity. You mentioned phishing emails. We always used to tell people, look, you get a phishing email, it's got some broken English in it. That's probably an indication that that's not coming from whoever you think it's coming from. Well, now with generative AI, I don't even have to speak the language. I can tell ChatGPT, hey, write me this message in Urdu that says this. I don't speak Urdu. So I might not even know a single word in Urdu. But yet I can have a very realistic message created that I can now send to you and pretend that I'm fluent in Urdu. And you give me the message back in Urdu, and I send it through the translator, and it tells me what you said, and I send another message back, right? So on the attack side, the bad actors are using that same generative artificial intelligence, whether it's to write code, whether it's to create phishing messages, et cetera. On the good side is we get to use that same generative artificial intelligence, those same large language models. And all artificial intelligence is good at is seeing patterns. It really bothers me that intelligence is one of the words in there because intelligence implies discernment, right? That this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. AI doesn't do discernment. AI does probability. This is likely what you are expecting to see. And it's got enough examples that it's right most of the time, but not 100% of the time.
Right.
And if you think about it, your interactions with humans is we have learned that certain words go in certain orders, or that when you ask me this question, my response either physically or verbally should be this, right? That's what the computer is doing. It's going from all these examples that I've had, this is how I think how I think you're expecting me to respond and how I think you're expecting to hear my answer, right? or how my words in a specific order are going to convey the meaning that I'm intending to convey. And so that's all artificial intelligence is doing. But it's getting really good at recognizing patterns that, we used to have to look for certain kinds of code or certain kinds of actions as being abnormal. And now with these artificial intelligences, we can look at behaviors that are happening on the network. It's like, well, and this is an older example, but I think it really illustrates it. You go into work every day at approximately 8 a.m., 8:30, 9 o'clock, Monday through Friday. Certain holidays you'll take off. Artificial intelligence could look at a login from you in China at 3 a.m. and go, wait a minute. Person has never logged in before from China, and never at 3 a.m, even if they're local. Red flag, right? That's probably not right.
Yeah, that math ain't mathin'.
That math ain't mathin', right? And that's an older example that we've had systems that have done that for a number of years. But that's an example of things that artificial intelligence can do that it is on the good side. So that's kind of the newest thing in cybersecurity is dealing with artificial intelligence on both the good and the bad sides. As far as the most common mistakes, I think I've already alluded to the most common mistake, which is you use the same password for everything, right? We were told years and years and years ago, make your password 8 characters long, so long as it's mixes of upper and lower case and you throw in an exclamation point and a number every now and then, great password. That was a great password in 2000. Not only through the use of social engineering and other things can I find out things about you, create a dictionary of all the things that you might be interacting with, and have this password guesser essentially guess all the combinations of your password, including all those really super tricky things that we as humans do, like replace O's with zeros. We're so smart. Replace I's with exclamation points. We're so smart. No, those are just simple things that we can do to make it easier for us. That kind of hacking that I'm just describing is called brute force hacking, where I literally just try every combination until I get it. As computers get faster, it can do the brute force hacking faster, right? In the same way that your laptop today can do a whole lot more than that Apple IIe that you used in 1980, whatever.
Bruh. Why you bring up the Apple IIe?
I love the Apple IIe. I'm not dissing on the Apple IIe. It's just not a 2025 computer anymore.
No, it sure ain't.
So these brute force attacks, and in fact, one of the things that's another thing that cybersecurity isn't dealing with yet, but is going to have to soon, and there's all this angst about it in the cybersecurity world, is quantum computing. Right now, all of our computers, everything is happening in bits. Bits essentially are ones and zeros, or relatively high voltage versus relatively low voltage. Quantum computing not only can test a 1 and a 0 at the same time, but also everything in between a 1 and a 0, and not just for this one thing, but for many other things. And it deals with quantum coupling. And frankly, I am not a quantum physicist. I don't understand all of it at the level that a quantum physicist would understand it. But once again, I know it enough to understand the ramifications, to understand roughly how it works. If you and I were going to choose something, we might flip a coin. The current computer world right now is you flip the coin and it lands. And when it lands, it's either heads or tails. The kind of analogy we like to use with quantum computing is, rather than waiting for it to land, the quantum computer figures it out while it's in the air, when it's both heads and tails. And so I can go through all of the possible combinations that could ever be before it ever lands, and so I'll know the answer long before you do. So that's kind of where quantum computing is going. But the most common mistake, same password for everything. I digressed. My apologies. Passwords, don't think of passwords. Think of passphrases. Because if I'm doing brute force computing, the more character combinations I have to go through, the better off, which is the same reason we told you before, don't just pick all lowercase, but lowercase and uppercase, because now I've gone from 26 characters to 52 characters. Don't just pick lowercase and uppercase, throw in a number. Now I got another 10 digits. Don't just numbers and uppercase and lowercase, but then throw in all those other special characters, your @ symbol, your $sign, et cetera. Right? So any one character that it has to guess is out of 256 or however many that go with that. Then every additional character is a factor of 256 squared, cubed, et cetera, et cetera. So now you get these combinations, and the longer you add to that, it gets to the point where it's literally more stars in the universe or more grains of sand than are on the face of the earth, or more atoms on the face of the earth, right? So until you get to quantum computing, that is, if I've got a 26 character password that is complex enough using all of those weird variations that you could brute force through all 26 characters of those is more than any supercomputer, and frankly, any combination of supercomputers built today can do. So if I get a passphrase, even if it's something from Shakespeare, right? To be or not to be, that is the question. You change some of the O's to zeros, you change the E to an at symbol, right? And suddenly that's something you can remember as a human. To be or not to be, that is the question. I should be able to type it with some level of confidence. But unless you knew that was the passphrase I was going through, the ability for you to brute force through that is next to impossible. So you get enough of those passphrases thrown together. Now, that was something I had to remember, like if I need to get in my password vault. The passwords in my password vault are that long, but complete gibberish. So now I don't have to remember them. So now even if someone does heavy-duty research on me and knows what my son's name and was my daughter's name and when they were born and when I started dating my wife and all that other stuff, right? You get this huge profile of me. You're still not going to brute force it because it's none of that information is in that list.
Is tied to that password.
Right. So get a different password for anything so that if I do, either through luck or guile, get one of your passwords, now the only thing I have a password to is that one account. If you use the same password over and over again, I have the password to all of your accounts. And you probably use the same email address for all of them too. So now I have the two things I need to have to be you. I've got your username, I've got your password. Use a different password for everything.
It all goes out.
Even if you're hacked, then you're only hacked in that one little aspect of your life.
Right.
So that's the biggest mistake. Passwords are too short and you use the same one for everything.
That's good knowledge. And something to think about. And at least now we also know, because you told us earlier, there are these programs or these apps out here who will store these passwords.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's why you also don't want to use the word password. That's in every dictionary of password hacks. Yeah. 1, 2, 3 is in every,
yeah.
all the stuff that you're told don't do it. There's a reason we tell you not to do it. It's not just because we're wanting to be a pain in your butt.
Bruh. Okay. Well, all right. So we've been at this. We went through it pretty thoroughly. What are the last things you would like to share with the Kosh listeners about your topic of the week? What didn't we maybe cover that you think is important?
Sure. I want to make a plug for the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. UW Oshkosh co-founded the UW Oshkosh Cybersecurity Center of Excellence with an organization called WICTRA, the Wisconsin Cyber Threat Response Alliance, several years ago. Shout out to WICTRA. Shout out to Jerry Eastman, the founder of WICTRA. It was a great partnership, and they brought a lot to the table, and we brought some things to the table. And so now we have this thing at the university that not only helps educate our students and is not only a resource to the university, but is designed to be a resource to the community. And so I would say, if you as an individual, if your organization, for-profit, not-for-profit, big, small, whatever the case may be, needs cybersecurity assistance, whether it's merely I want to know more or I need help building good cybersecurity policies and a culture in my organization so that I keep my customers and my organization's information safe, or you want someone to be a white hat hacker, right? Someone who's going to hack your things, but not to destroy, but to inform you. Come to the Cybersecurity Center. Even if we don't have that resource ourselves, we are connected with all sorts of people and other organizations that can help you do that. And our primary focus is small to medium in businesses and not-for-profits. The Oshkosh corporations of the world, the Plexuses, the Amcors of the world, they can go and hire really great professionals. And we're not saying we're less than that, but what we are saying is we have a different mission. We are not for profit. We are there to serve the community. We are there to give our students real-world experience in doing these things. So if you come to us, you may be interacting with students. They may be doing the hack of your network. Once again, not from a malicious standpoint. We do all the NDAs, right? We do all those things that those for-profit organizations do. we do it with a different goal and a different motivation, and that's that we are all safer. Because when you are unsafe and you and I have a relationship, now suddenly my stuff is less safe.
Right.
Your organization could, and I say your organization in air quotes, right? They could send me an invoice, or they could demand payment, or they could if our organizations interact digitally, suddenly your organization is the pathway into my organization. So whether it's, your company is now suddenly having to deal with CMMC because you work with a company that works with a company that works with Oshkosh Defense that works with the DoD, whether it's you don't have cybersecurity policies in your organization, you want to know what realistic ones look like and how do you create them, you want to have a better cybersecurity culture, come to the CCOE, because we want cybersecurity to be the equivalent of putting on your seatbelt when you get in the car. I remember before there were seatbelt laws, lots of people didn't wear their seatbelts when they drove around. Or they would even be proud that they weren't wearing their seatbelts when they drove around. Mm-hmm. Then we figured out seatbelts are a pretty good thing, and we should do things to encourage people to use their seatbelts. And we have moved from a place where you had to think about putting your seatbelt on, like, oh, darn, I got to put my seatbelt on. My kids get in on cars. They don't even think about it, right? It's muscle reaction.
Oh, yeah,
you put your seatbelt on, right? We want to get to that place with cybersecurity where the basic cybersecurity things, just like basic safety in a car is putting your seatbelt on, basic cybersecurity things such as having a different password for every account, having that password have a certain level of complication. We want that to be second nature to you, right? Not the crazy, you're not going to all have you take a look at seams and, subnet IP addressing and sniffing for packets using, Wireshark. We just want you to have those basics of being safety, and that's our mission at the CCOE.
I want to send a shout out to Jerry. I actually got one of Jerry's challenge coins.
Did you?
Well,
Excellent.
Jerry's a vet.
Jerry is a vet. Jerry's awesome.
So, when I was at the vet center, he came through. Okay, well, I think we nailed it. I got one more question now, and we've been at it, though. We've been at it for a minute.
Yep.
Because now I'm thinking, someone out there is listening and thinking, I'm not thinking the young kid who wants to maybe look into cybersecurity. I'm thinking of the professional who's maybe thinking of a professional pivot to cybersecurity.
Yep.
What is that?
Once again, you have to have some level of technical knowledge. We just can't get around that. It's all right. If you're that person who says, well, I'm going to use the same password for everything because that's all I can remember. Stop. we are not for you. But if you're willing to learn some new things, if you're willing to get a little more education, whether it's formal or informal, YouTube University is a real thing, right? There are YouTube videos out there that tell you how to do some of this stuff. We have continuing education or job changer education that we're doing at UW Oshkosh. Come talk to us about what that means. You may not have to do 4 years, right? Let's leverage the education that you have. That once again, that may not be universal, right? If you never had any college education, we're looking at 4 years if you're coming to UW Oshkosh. Mm-hmm. But we're also looking at less than that if you just stop by the Cybersecurity Center and go through some of our activities. We're looking at less than that if you want to get an industry certification, which especially early on in your career, in some ways is as valuable, if not more so, than a 4-year education or a 2-year education that you can get at the community colleges. By the way, I don't want to leave the impression that many academics leave that the only way to do anything right is to get a 4-year education. Many cybersecurity professionals come out of the military and were enlisted, right? These aren't people who went through ROTC and have college degrees, right? These GIs. There are people who've done this and do this well who have 2-year degrees. There are people who've done this and do this well who have no degrees but are simply hyper tinkerers and have torn down and built things and done some research and gone to YouTube University and did all that sort of stuff. And then there's 4-year degrees, right? That we are another way of doing it. But yeah, stop by the Cybersecurity Center and let's have a conversation about what may work for you, because we all have a different journey and we all get to where we are.
Love it.
Good.
All right. First segment. We only went through topic of the week.
There you go.
All right. And we're an hour in.
We're an hour in.
All right.
We're good.
So, first segment is called the soapbox.
Yeah.
And the soapbox is an opportunity for the guest to get on their soapbox and talk about something that's going on right now that they're passionate about. So,
so many things. But I think the one I want to hit on, because it is universal, and it is something I believe in deeply, as probably has been teased at and hinted at by a lot of my cybersecurity answers. I am a big believer that everything is part of a system, part of a larger organism, entity, whatever the case may be, but that we exist in a world of systems. And one of the things that I'm a firm believer about as far as systems is systems give you the results the system was designed to produce. So if you are looking at a situation, whether it's in society, whether it's in your work life, whether it's a computer program you're writing, and you are getting either inconsistent results or results that you don't like, that is because your system is broken. There are these components that are acting on the system, some of them intended, but some of them unintended, that are giving you the negative result. You all can't see it because you're on a podcast, but I wear bracelet, or I guess that's what you call it. It's orange and it says enough. It was given to me by a young person that I care very deeply about, and she was very worried about gun violence in her school, in her life, and the enough bracelet says I've had enough of gun violence. Now, regardless of how you feel about the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, any of the amendments, regardless of how you feel about weapons, regardless of how you feel about self-defense and hunting culture, right? Can any of us argue that the level of gun violence that we have today is acceptable? That you're okay with that? Now, you may say, well, given what I feel about the Second Amendment, I'm okay with that. I'm okay, that's fine. And I'm not here to judge you about that. But what if that didn't have to be the trade-off? What if you could have the Second Amendment in its totality and have less gun violence? Would you take that? And I'm guessing that everybody listening to this podcast, regardless of how you feel about the Second Amendment, would say yes. So if I give you the entire Second Amendment, what are you willing to change to get to the point where we don't have the gun violence we have? Because it is a system. We get the result. Now, the system may not have been intentionally designed to do that, but it has been designed, right? Everything that goes into gun violence, who makes the guns, who sells the guns, who has the guns, are laws, are not laws, whatever the case may be, has been designed. We as humans made those choices, either individually or collectively. The system has been designed. We have the opportunity and the ability to change it. And I don't want to focus on gun violence. That is not why I'm here. I'm saying everything we do is a system. Your personal relationships with your family, with your friends, with your business is a system. Our culture is a system. And so I encourage us to take a look at the systems we live in. And if there's a system you don't like, if the outcome is something that you don't like, either because it's only suboptimal, right? It's close, but it's not quite there, or it's just bad. We have agency and ability to make changes to those systems. We may only be able to affect a small amount, but let's have the courage. Let's have the trust in each other to talk about, I don't like this outcome. I don't like that people are getting shot, either because they're taking their own lives, because there's street violence. I don't like that. I think that is something that we can do better. And let's have a conversation about what is important to you, what's important to me. And if you also want it to see it get better, I'm going to trust that you're going to be an act with integrity and faith that, okay, then let's make it better. And I think if we have those conversations and we recognize that none of these things act alone, right? We could repeal the Second Amendment and that won't stop gun violence. We could smelt all guns that we know of, and that's not going to stop gun violence because someone will figure out how to make a gun, right? So let's not take an absolutist approach. Let's get better at it. And we can get better at it by recognizing it's part of a system, and it's a system we have designed. And if we don't like the outcome, we can change the system. So there's my soapbox.
The next segment is called 21 Questions. This is an opportunity for our guests to answer some questions that we have. We don't have 21, but because they are such good questions, they might solicit 21 answers.
All right.
All right. You ready to jump in?
Well, I think I've already proven I'm verbose enough that you can ask me one question and get 15 answers from that.
Yeah.
Bruh.
You came to play today. You came to make a podcast today, so I appreciate. Okay, let's start. What motivates you?
So many things motivate me. I think fundamentally I'm motivated by the faith that I have and what I feel that I've been asked to do in the world. I'm motivated by hopefully lifting things and people up. I don't always do that. In fact, many times I fail miserably, but that's probably my intent, I hope. So I'll leave it at that.
What does success look like to you?
Success looks like the world's a better place. Whether it's an individual's life is better, we know more than we did before, but the world's a better place.
What irritates you?
Oh, if you were my wife and my kids, they would tell you I have an interminable list. What irritates me probably most of all is something I'm probably guilty of myself, which is hypocrisy and entitlement. Those two things just drive me nuts. And willful ignorance. Willful ignorance just makes me crazy. Not that you don't know, right? There's so many things we all don't know. But when you're told and you're shown and you're still like, nah, that just makes me crazy.
What worries or scares you?
Probably the same three things I just talked about: willful ignorance and entitlement and hypocrisy. And once again, they're very human things. I'm not holier than thou. I am guilty of all three. But I do think that they stand between people and stand between where this world can be. And so those are the things that worry me. I am a firm believer that fundamentally we each want the best life for ourselves and the people we love. We perceive that other people or things are standing in our way of getting that. And we do everything we can to move those things. Some of them are very real. Some of them are merely perceived. So I ascribe to people generally pure motivation. I very rarely think someone is out to get me just because they're evil. That going back to your worry question, right? That's a portion of our language we need to get away from. And I realize it's deeply rooted in certain people's interpretation of their faith, and I get that. But I think the more you are around people who aren't like you, the more you recognize they may not actually be evil. They may just be coming at it from a different perspective. They may view me as standing in the way of something that they need, not just that they want, that they need, that there's an injustice that I am perpetuating. Why wouldn't you fight an injustice? So ascribing evil to people, even people that I really, 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 really think are doing some negative things in the world, I don't know that they're evil people. I think they are misinformed or otherwise human. They're greedy, right? The 7 deadly sins, right? The sins are real, but I don't know that the people are evil.
What are you grateful for?
Oh, that is an interminable list. I am grateful for my family and my students and my health and my meager intelligence that I have and the people I interact with and my church and food and shelter and heat and warmth and the fact that I get to work with the athletics department. I get the fact that I get to know you and your beautiful family and be on your podcast. And literally it's an interminable list. you talk about we're in here for an hour, we could be in here for hours. And I would just list things, not even explaining to you why I'm grateful. I am a more than blessed person.
What do you want to be remembered for?
I don't know. I would hope that I am remembered as someone who cares about people, and that I didn't just care, but I did things that were caring and showed people I cared. If I am remembered, and I am not convinced I will be, and I'm okay with that, I hope that's what it's for. You know, I think it's in the Jewish tradition that you never die until the last person who ever says your name, right? Which is, you know, part of why there's genealogy, right? You go back and you take a look at those people, and you know, I have no desire to live immortally. Like I'm not even happy in a 55-year-old body anymore, let alone a 2 million old body, 2 million year old body. But no, if I am remembered, I hope it is from the impact I made on other people's lives, and they saw it as being positive.
How do you define love?
That's a deep question, man.
Hey, we be swinging for the fences.
That's not just over the fence. That's out at the ballpark. How do I define love? I define love as pure caring, right? As I take a look, my wife would literally die for our kids, right? That is love. She would literally do anything for them. I will be honest. I'm sorry, kids. I'm not sure Dad would, but I'd like to think I would, but I'm not sure I would. I am positive my wife would, right? That's love. So getting as close to being willing to literally give up everything for someone else, that's love.
What is the most memorable life lesson you learned from a parent, a guardian, or a mentor?
It is simple and ridiculously like it's hard to believe someone would actually have to say this to you. But when I was younger, and some people would argue still today, but definitely when I was younger, I thought I was pretty smart. I thought I knew pretty much everything. And I didn't intentionally, but unintentionally, I did not always treat people with the respect that they earned and deserved. And so we were standing in the kitchen in the house, and my mom had said something to me. I don't remember what I said back, but it was snotty teenager. And I'm not, right, it wasn't anything particularly mean. It was snotty teenager, right? And my dad said, "Do you ever listen to yourself?" I think if we all listened to ourselves more and truly listened, because when you truly listen, you are looking at intent, you are looking at how it was received, you are looking at the impact it may have made. But that is something that years and years later, I think about literally multiple times every day. I try and listen to myself and think about the impact of what I'm going to say has on somebody.
Okay, let me set the scenario.
Okay.
You have been asked to be the keynote at a conference of your peers.
Okay.
We'll say your cybersecurity peers, since this has been a theme throughout, right?
Okay.
So, but,
yeah,
you got to set the tone.
Yeah.
You got to get it hype before you get ready to walk out on this stage. What is your walkout song?
So many great songs. There is one that I love that will never be played as a walkout song because it is not for every audience. We'll just say it that way. It's a Green Day song. It's called Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. And it has a slow build. And the first words out of the singer's mouth, the music drops, and the singer says, "I'm not effing around." Doesn't use the word effing. Right. It's the full uncensored. I think I think that says a lot about me and anything I do. I'm not effing around. Yeah, that'd probably be it.
That sounds like a good walkout song to me.
I think so. I think so.
I mean, you're going to let them know.
That's right.
I think it sets a tone.
It's time to get down to business. Let's go.
Time for some action. Okay. Well, you have survived 21 questions.
All right.
Okay. So at this time, we've been at it for a minute here. I think this is the perfect time for a brittle break.
Oh, yes.
Hey, Timber, this is Orson.
This is Yao.
Hashtag the Brittle Daddies. Timber, every week you have some amazing guests who have some amazing stories, and we want to give them a little something.
Yeah, let's give them the pistachio brittle. It's a state fair winner.
Oh, the pistachio. Leave this for guests who have some really exciting stories. I think they'll enjoy it.
Yeah, and if your guests want to find out more about Shari's Ghana style brittle, they should go to sharaysgsb.com.
Sounds good. All right, we're out.
Deuces.
Okay, so this is going to be the first time.
So just I want to follow up your brittle plug, and,
Yes.
and you and I talked about this off air.
Yes.
My parents, Ghanaian students at Iowa State University that they interact with all the time, and so when we went home, we brought some of Sheree's Ghanaian style brittle back to them, and it's legit. They're like, oh my gosh, this is exactly like we have back at home. So not to say that Sheree was lying to us, because we knew he wasn't, but I have it on third party authority that it is good stuff. And we brought home all the flavors, right? It wasn't just the pistachio flavor; it was all the flavors. So it is legit. You should get some. So there.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you how good the packaging is, because I literally just handed Michael a package, and we can't get it open.
It is going to be so fresh because they have it sealed so tight.
Right, it is fresh and sealed all the way tight. So instead of holding up, you're going to miss us actually crunching through a bag. So we're going to send the bag home with Michael.
It will be eaten. It will be enjoyed.
It will get handled. But,
That's right.
Hey, I just want to send a special shout out to our friends over there at Share's, to Orson and Yao. Thank you as always for supporting and sponsoring the Kosh. And thank you, because we love these brittle breaks.
Oh, yes.
You need a brittle break just so we can breathe a little bit, because we be interviewing hard over here.
We have that.
All right. And then I also just want to spend a special sponsorship shout out to Timber's Ties. If you didn't know, Timber has a new business. He is in the wooden bow tie business. These are fabulous things. And if you have an occasion coming up, let me promise you this: nothing says authentic and bold than a wooden bow tie. So you can go to timber-ties.com. That is timber-ties.com. We just opened our website, and check out some of the wooden bow ties options. Our first series of bow ties, we're calling them the Woodford series.
All right. Very good. I wear bow ties, so I will definitely be checking that out.
Oh, you need to check that out.
Yeah.
You need to be rocking one of these. Let me
All
say
right.
something. It's a statement piece, because
It absolutely is.
people can't help but to come and talk to you about it.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
Okay.
ooh. Do you do requests?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Here's what I want. Because I do stuff for the university and the athletics department.
Okay.
I want a wooden bow tie that has Oshkosh Titan stuff on it. I will wear that with my tux at the Athletics Hall of Fame banquet next year. So we just had it. You got a year to get it done.
I got a year.
That's what I want.
Okay.
All right.
I will work on that.
I will buy it.
All right. Fabulous. Okay, so we got another segment coming up here, and this segment is called Word Association. And what we do in Word Association is, Michael, I'm going to say some words.
Yep.
You're going to tell us what's on your soul.
Okay.
All right. We have a tradition, a long-standing tradition here at the Kosh, that the first word has always been the same word. And it is the word of family. It is the word of community. It is the word of love. The word is food.
Yes. So what word do I associate with food?
Yes.
All of it. I love food. I love to eat. If you see me, I am a man of a certain size. I enjoy food. Food is love. My kids are always telling me, Dad, food is your love language. Because every time we go, they're like, you want something to eat? I'll buy something to eat. Let's go get something to eat. So food is my love language. I love food.
All right, we got favorites. We got a favorite. What hits you right now? Where do you go when you are treating yourself?
I got so many things. Like the times that I, if I'm feeling nostalgic, I want a chili dog and onion rings and a root beer. If I'm feeling classy, I want a really good steak. And it is hard to get a really good steak. I grew up in Iowa. My dad's best friend is a cattle farmer. Most people do not know what a good steak is. I have had many in my life, and I'm telling you, they are hard to come by. If just get something for the day. I like sandwiches. I like all sorts of sandwiches. I like chicken. If I want to make my wife happy, we're going to go get scallops and seafood. So, and pizza. A good pizza is hard to find. It is hard to find. There used to be some places, and we still get some pizza here in town, but man, a good pizza, that's gold. And I love the new cheesesteak place. That is authentic cheesesteaks. I have been to Philadelphia. I have had cheesesteaks in Philadelphia. The new place in town, good cheesesteaks.
I don't know where the new place is. What's it called?
It is called I think it's called Original Cheesesteaks, and it's 2 doors down from Buffalo Wild Wings. It's legit.
It's legit.
It's legit.
Okay. Cocktail or beer?
Beer.
What do we like?
I like malty. I'm not an IPA guy. Like I want to enjoy my beer. I don't need it bitter. So I like malty, but that can range from a whole number of things. Whether it is something a little more fruity like Blue Bobber or Red Bobber from Fox River Brewing Company, the original. Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've had a good one. I'm blanking on it. I'll come back to it. But like all the way up through Guinness, right? Something really dark and malty. But I like malty. Oh my gosh, what is the British beer that you can't get anymore? At least not in the original version. I used to get it all the time. And then they changed the recipe for what they do in America, and it's not as good. It's brown ale.
You got me on this one.
Oh, the original was so good. It was great on a hot day. It was great on a cold day. That was so good. And then they changed the recipe, and it's not as good anymore. I'll think about it, but yeah.
I'll tell you what, because it's gonna pop up on you somewhere in this conversation.
If I just shout out a word,
just shout it out.
Yeah.
Just shout it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Shop local.
Yeah, I try whenever I can. So we've got some great local businesses. So yes, shop local. Are you looking for an example?
Well, yeah, I'm always going to ask, do you got a suggestion? Because I think people are, they're always looking for, okay, how do you get down?
If we're going to be classic about it, right? I mean, Hughes Chocolates. Why would you ever buy chocolates? Apologies to all the Oaks people, right? That's also good. I'm a Hughes fan. I understand these are fighting words in Oshkosh. I'm a Hughes man.
You are either on one team, you are Team Oaks, or you're Team Hughes.
And they're both great.
Yeah.
I'm just Team Hughes. So the fact that there is a world-class chocolate shop in the basement of a house, I mean that. You can't get more local than that. You can't get more wonderful than that. Obviously, there's all sorts of great institutions, Leon's, Artie and Ed's, and then there are the newer places, right? I love Ruby Owl. I
dig Ruby.
That's a local place. I love Manila, and I for those small businesses who I haven't given a shout out to, it's not because I don't go to you. I do. Those are just the ones that popped in the top of my head.
Music.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, so much. I just went last week and saw Mavis Staples.
What?
Yes.
Bruh.
Yeah. Mavis Staples played the Stoughton Opera House. And for a woman older than my parents, she got it going on. She had to sit down a lot, but she's still Mavis Staples. Earlier this summer, I saw Fishbone in Madison. One of the best shows I have seen in my life. And it was in this little place, and there's like 100 people there. But Fishbone brings it all the time and brings it hard. And, Black Crowes, it's not the same without Steve, so I'm not going see them on tour now, but when the Black Crowes were hitting, they were hitting. I like so much music. I have seen 4 Marsalises at different times, Winton and Branford and Delfeo and Dad. I've seen them all. So, jazz. I love jazz. I love Lyle Lovett. I love John Hyatt, Todd Snyder. If it's live music and it's not modern country, I'm probably going, because there's just nothing speaks to my soul other than food than music. That just gets my juices going.
Streaming.
I don't, you would think someone who's in information systems would spend a lot of time on computers, and I don't. I do listen to some podcasts. I've started listening to the Kosh now. Thanks a lot. I listened to the same buddy of mine I went to Mavis Staples with turned me on to, I believe it's called The History of Rock in 500 Songs. And so he started back, pre-rock era, right? Because you have to, talking about swing music and how a particular song can be heard echoes in something later. And so I've started that. The question about that particular podcast is the guy going to live long enough to get through all 500 songs?
Oh,
because he's only, it's like song 186 out of 500. So he's in the classic rock era, but obviously he's got a lot to go. So I listen to that. I love Malcolm Gladwell's podcast. But I don't listen to a lot of podcasts because I find I listen to podcasts when I'm traveling and in the car. And since my commute to work now is 7 blocks, I don't get to listen as much anymore, because otherwise I'm probably listening to music because that's really what feeds me.
Last word. Community.
As I said, I'm a believer in systems, and a community is nothing more than a system. We get the community we ask for. So if we're not out there talking to our neighbors, if we're not out there learning who our neighbors are, we get a disconnected community. I don't know my neighbors probably as well as I should have, especially since I've been in the same house for over 20 years now. But I know my next door neighbors. I know them pretty well. In fact, we had these neighbors across the street that when the kids were little, I said, anything goes down, you go across the street, you go to the Courtneys. They didn't know that until like years later, like when the kids were adults. And I think we invited them to Caitlin's graduation, and they're like, oh, okay, we know each other, but I said, no, you were very important in my kids' lives, even though they didn't hang out at your house or whatever, because they knew that was a safe place to go. And I think our relationship deepened simply by them knowing that. And so yeah, I've got great neighbors. We have a great community. It can be better if we get to know each other better, if we get to understand each other's motivations better. But community is we get the community we ask for. And I want a better one, so I'm going to ask for a better one.
Facts. All right. And that is word association. And also, that is the reason the Kosh exists.
Yeah.
So we can build better community.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next segment is called the Kosh Hidden Gems. This is an opportunity for our guests to share a hidden gem with the Kosh listeners. Now, when we're thinking of hidden gems, it does not have to be located in the Kosh. Also, it could be something you think everybody knows about, but maybe there's details or programming with it that you don't think people know about, or maybe it's something you don't think a lot of people know about that you think is a great gem for people to know about. What is your gem? All right.
I think the most hidden gem I've already talked about, which is the CCOE, because I don't think enough people know about us. But I'm going to leave that to a side, and I'm going to talk about something one of my colleagues is doing, and that is the digital marketing clinic at UW Oshkosh. Started as a result of COVID. I have a colleague, Kathy Fredrickson, who was teaching a digital marketing class, and COVID hits, and now suddenly people can't get together anymore. Not only can we not get together with our students, but small businesses suddenly have these digital needs that they can't get figured out and now have to be digital because no one's coming into the store anymore, right? So Kathy contacted several of them, and out of that as well as some grants that have come from the Small Business Development Center, came the Digital Marketing Clinic that now has served, there's 88 counties in Wisconsin, right?
Something like
something
that.
something like that.
Yeah.
And they've served businesses in over 70 of them, and they have a waiting list of 120 to get to. And it's, once again, all students. The students are doing the marketing with Kathy's guidance, and Kathy is spent a long time in private industry, as I did. But the students do all the work. They are paid, but the service is completely free to the businesses. So if you are looking for 20 hours of consultant level consultancy for your digital marketing, the Digital Marketing Clinic at UW Oshkosh, and these grants that they use to pay the students, here's a shock, are running out. It's harder to get grants anymore. So if you would like to support that kind of work, we're not asking you as businesses or participating to pay. We are asking organizations to help underwrite paying the students. Let's keep the service and the underwriting separate. So whether you want to make a donation, whether you want to help grant write, whether you want to set up some sort of a foundation that would support the Digital Marketing Clinic, this is exactly what we would hope higher education would be in the 21st century. It is real world. It is impactful, not only to the students, but to the businesses. It helps grow the community, and it's based in academic background. So I'm gonna do a shout out for the Digital Marketing Clinic.
Okay, facts. And Kosh listeners, if you would like to learn more about that, we have an episode with Kathy.
There you go. See?
So go check
Didn't even know I was a throwback.
Yep, go check out that episode with her where she really goes in depth, and you can learn a lot about who Kathy is.
There you go.
All right. Next segment is called Story Time. Story Time is an opportunity for our guest to share a story. That story can be about absolutely anything. So, Michael?
So my wife and my kids will tell you I'm a horrible storyteller because I go into the little tangents, and you've already heard that. So I'm going to do my best. It is not my story. It is a story that I have stolen from Ken Burns. If you have seen the baseball documentary that Ken Burns did, you have heard this story already. But it is my favorite story because it really, I think, highlights not only the importance, but the complexity of communication. In the 1950s, Richie Ashburn was an all-star center fielder for the Philadelphia Phillies. And as this was in the 1950s, baseball was starting to integrate more. And they got this new shortstop, whose name I sadly do not remember, but he did not speak any English. And as you know, if you've ever played baseball, occasionally there will be these bloop fly balls that go halfway between the shortstop and the center fielder. And it's important for the safety of both players, as well as getting the out, that they be able to communicate with each other and say, I got it. So all through spring training, Richie Ashburn is running in from center field going, I got it, I got it, I got it. And the shortstop was running out from the shortstop position going, yo le tengo, meaning I got it. And they would run into each other. So Richie Ashburn decided, I'm the captain of this team. I'm going to be a leader. I'm going to learn how to say this in Spanish. So he worked really hard. And it's during spring training, there's this fly ball halfway between shortstop and left center field. And so Richie Ashburn's running in and going, yo le tengo, yo le tengo, yo le tengo. And the shortstop stops, and the left fielder plows into him because the left fielder hadn't figured out that yo le tengo in Spanish means I got it. And I love that story, not because it's funny that, you're trying to do the right thing and it still doesn't work because the left fielder isn't into it, but because everybody there had good intentions. Everybody there did their best when they knew what had to be done, but the left fielder still wasn't in on it, right? You have to not just work with the person you're talking to, but what are the ramifications? How do these ripples lead outside? And so that's one of my favorite stories because it involves baseball, it involves community, it involves communication, and I love that story.
I like that story too.
Oh, I love that story.
Yes. So it made me think, how do you do that better? Yeah, that's the first thing I started thinking.
It has to be systemic, right? It's not just, I'm going to learn to speak Spanish.
Right.
We need to teach everybody how to say, I got it in Spanish. And we need to teach the Spanish speakers how to say, I got it in English. And then when we get the player that comes from French Canada, we got to say, c'est moi, right? It's mine, right? And, you gotta, it has to be part of the system. And as we expand the system, then it's going to be better for everybody, because now it's not on me. It's the system is taking care of it.
Love that. Okay. Well, Michael, at this time, what we're going to get ready to start doing, we're going to get ready to start wrapping up this episode. Gosh, listeners, you already know when you hear that. So what I want to do is I want to take a moment and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for giving us your minds and ears. Thank you for caring about another community member, making a difference in our community, helping to make our region, our neighborhood a better place. I loved this conversation today. I've got things that I'm thinking about now. I got to tighten up my cyber game. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to tighten up my cyber game, because there's some things I'm going to do for the good of myself and the good of my family. So I truly appreciated this, and I hope that there were some takeaways for all of you about how to maybe make your life a little safer. All right, and maybe it's a career in your future, and then you know who to reach out to. So if you are interested in learning more, reach out to us here at askthekosh@gmail.com, and I can put you in contact with Michael Patton. Okay, so Kosh listeners, you already know we have a goal. That goal is we are trying to become the #1 podcast in Wisconsin, and we can't do it without your help. So what does that look like? It looks like, as you listen to this and you're thinking, you need new segments, Timber, I got some ideas, but why don't you tell me what those are? You're thinking, I would make a great guest. I agree. You should let me know you want to be on. And you're probably thinking, I know some really cool people that I think you should talk to. I also agree with that. And you can do that by getting in contact with me at askthekosh@gmail.com. Once again, that is askthekosh@gmail.com. Also, I think we have something pretty amazing here with these conversations that we do have, getting to know our neighbors and also getting to know resources within our region. And I'd like for more people to learn about it. And the way we learn about more is called analytics. So while you are listening to this podcast, if you see a subscribe button, hit it. If you see stars, give us 5. And if you see the opportunity to write a review, take a few moments and go ahead and write that review for us. These are all things that increase our analytics, and the better our analytics, the more community members get to learn about this amazing resource known as the Kosh Podcast. Okay, so now that we've got that taken care of, now is the fun part. That means it is shout out time. So, Michael, who are your shout outs?
I've done so many already. I feel like I'm stealing thunder, but shout out to UW Oshkosh Athletics, all of the athletes that I work with, either because you just heard my voice over the air, or we've had an interaction at the scoring table, or whatever the case may be. Shout out to you. You're doing amazing stuff. If you are not following UW Oshkosh Athletics, this is the golden era. We got a men's basketball team that's been good for a long time, right? Won a national championship a few years ago. They're still good, but we got all sorts of things coming up on it. Football team had a rough weekend yesterday, but they're on the up. The women's athletics right now are killing it. We got a volleyball team that's been to the last 2 Elite Eights, which is the Final Four equivalent for volleyball the last 2 years. Women's basketball is killing it on the court. If they don't win the national championship this year, it will be a slight upset. They are up there. Softball has gone to several Elite Eight once again, kind of that last string for softball. So the women's teams, and of course, the long history and tradition of track and field and cross country here at UW Oshkosh is still going strong. But we got swimming and diving. We got women's wrestling now, which is coming on. We got men's wrestling. Women's soccer They've got some really good young players. They're going to be stepping up and doing some cool stuff. So check out UW Oshkosh Athletics. Check out all the changes that are happening at the university. Have you had the new chancellor on yet?
He is coming in the near future.
Good. Energetic man and all sorts of big ideas. It is an exciting time to be at the university. Also want to do a shout out to anybody in in the city of Oshkosh and in greater Winnebago County in the greater Northeast Wisconsin area, and frankly anywhere, who is working to make your neighborhood, your community a better place. Sometimes it feels like no one sees what you're doing. Sometimes it feels like you are lifting a load that is way heavier than you are. That's okay. Lift that load, because I guarantee you someone is noticing, and you have made a difference in someone's life, even if you are unaware of it. So keep lifting it, keep fighting the good fight. If your intention is to make the world a better place, not just the world that that looks like the world that you want to be in, because that is not the world, right? That's your environment, and that's okay. I'm not judging it. But if you're trying to make the world a better place, that people feel welcomed and loved and can do things in the world, I see you, I recognize you, and I support you. So those are my shout outs.
I love that this was a very Titan love fest episode. As a super Titan myself, like, that always feels good. It just feels good. So my shout outs, this week's shout outs. First of all, I'm going to send a shout out to my man, Alex Hummel. A big shout out to you. Thanks for making time to meet up. Adriana McClear over at the Appleton Public Library. Thank you so much for making time, doing some strategy and chopping it up. I hope that we are able to find our way to more joyful conversations. I want to send a shout out to Tracy over at Harbor House in Appleton. Great conversation. I have an episode with her coming out on the Appleton Engaged podcast. That is such an important resource. Check that out when it comes out. I want to send a super important and a super special shout out to the National Council of Negro Women, Fox Valley section. They just opened a new chapter. They just chartered a chapter here in the Fox Valley. Some of the most influential and brilliant and powerful Black women in our region coming together to do community work. I got to be present for it. I got to say a few words for it. I am excited that they are here. I am excited for what it means for our community. And then send a shout out to my friends Todd and Beth Moen for coming over and watching the Brewers go to the next step.
There
yes,
you go.
That is right. That was fire. It was fire last night. So
Even a White Sox fan can get behind that. I'm down with that.
Yeah, well, I think the Cubbies coach secretly was smiling at us.
I think he was too. I think there's still, from his perspective, some love there.
There's some love. I think so. And last, never least, but most important, shout out to my wife for continuing to let me make a podcast in the house. Baby, thank you for always supporting me and loving on me. I appreciate you.
And you need to give your daughter a hug for me next time you see her.
Oh, most definitely.
All right.
I got you on that one. Okay, so this is the last thing we got to do to wrap up this episode, Michael, and it is this. You get a choice, multiple choice.
All right.
All right, so option A, what are some parting words for the Kosh listeners? Option B, what would yourself today tell your 13-year-old self? Option C, good multiple choice always has an all of the above. So you can do both. You can give parting words of wisdom to the Kosh listeners, and you can share with us what would yourself today tell your 13-year-old self.
Well, despite what my students and my kids would think, I don't know that I need to subject whatever meager wisdom I have on anybody else. So I will just tell 13-year-old me, you are not as smart as you think you are. You are a smart kid, but you are not as smart as you think you are. And there are universes of things that you don't know and you don't understand, but you will. So keep your powder dry, listen more than you talk, and go learn those things.
Ooh, that went hard. All right. Michael, what'd you think?
Love it. Love it.
All right. Well, it's the Kosh.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.